In the world of Static Shock, things were rarely subtle, and that's what made the show powerful. Its villains were lessons made flesh rather than complex three-dimensional characters. And no one embodied that more than Ebon, a man made of darkness whose motives were as clear as his powers. But in more recent years, that darkness has been rewritten to seem misunderstood, and I'm not sure that that's an improvement. Static Shock was never a show that hid behind layers of ambiguity. It spoke directly to its audience with stories that were clear, accessible, and easy to grasp. I know that some people dismiss the show because of this, but personally I don't see it as a weakness. By cutting through subtext and saying exactly what it meant, the show made sure its message reached kids who needed to hear it most. And it's an important thing to remember, Static Shock was aimed at children first and foremost. And the character of Ebon was very much a cardboard cutout villain, made specifically for the show. He was selfish, sinister, and devoid of any redeeming qualities. His powers perfectly matched his personality. He controlled shadows and could travel between them. His primary role in the series was to act as Static's opposite. Where Static encouraged integration, understanding, and good behavior, Ebon embodied selfishness, greed, and wickedness. He doesn't have any personal trauma or ideology that informs his actions. His goals are power, control, and more power. He's a gang leader that is a bad influence on the other Bang Babies and tries to bring them all under his control. He is the literal embodiment of a bad influence, and there's not much else to his character. He's not like, say, Mr. Freeze, who was driven to do bad things by loss and despair. He's not even like the Joker, who had his own twisted motivations for the horrible things he did. He's intimidating and cool looking, but rarely vulnerable, conflicted, or morally grey. He is the shadowy figure trying to tempt other people to a life of crime. We are eventually told that his name was Ivan Evans before he was exposed to the quantum vapor. Ever since he was a child, he had dreamed of being a big shot in the criminal underworld and had spent some time in juvenile detention. There are hints at him coming from a broken home. He mentions that his father had passed away, making him the man of the house, but that's it. That lack of inner life makes him more of a stock antagonist than a complex character. Most of his crimes are fairly insignificant, stealing money, food, technology. Once he did try to blot out the sun though, but overall he's fairly run-of-the-mill despite his fantastic powers. Having said that, that doesn't mean that he's insignificant. I think the most interesting thing about him is the comparison between him and his brother Adam, Rubberband Man. Both have their brushes with the law, but Adam only did so because he felt like he had been screwed out of his musical career. He had dreams and ambition. He wanted to create music and become wealthy. And when his dream was stolen from him, he lashed out in anger and attacked the man who he felt had wronged him. So, yeah, okay, so far sounds fairly similar to Ebon. But the difference is that the Rubberband Man still had talent. And through the love of Static's sister Sharon, he found his way to reforming. He dusted himself off, and he tried to be a hero. Ebon wouldn't accept this, however. He was the elder brother, and now that their father was no longer alive, he was the man of the family. He states that he should be the one looking out for his brother, but what he really means is that he doesn't want Adam to have opinions of his own. Ebon says that Adam is alone in the world without him, and that the people that are currently cheering him on will turn on him the second he does something they don't like. He demonstrates this by dressing up as Rubberband Man and breaking the metabreed out of jail. Everyone assumes that Adam is guilty, but he knows that he isn't, and the only person he can turn to is his brother. He's not ready to fully commit to joining the metabreed, but Ebon thinks it's only a matter of time. Hey, and maybe he would have if Static hadn't proven that Ebon had set Adam up. That's a very neat summary of his character there. He says all of the right things. He claims he has people's best interests at heart, but really everything he does serves his own agenda first and foremost. He's clearly insecure because his position as leader of the metabreed gets challenged quite a few times. At first the gang gets taken over by the Joker, but later on the Bang Baby Madeline Spaulding takes over with her new powers. Ebon entertains her proposal until he's had enough of being told what to do by a schoolgirl. But she is still too powerful for him and takes him out with literal garbage. In the 4th season's final episode, a cure for Bang Babies is released into the city without anyone knowing. When members of the metabreed start losing their powers, Ebon is furious, and he steals the last remaining sample of the quantum vapor. From here, he then tells any Bang Babies that want to get their powers back that they can do so, on the condition that they obey him. However, when Ebon and Hotstreak come to blows over who should really be in charge, they accidentally break the canister and overdose on the quantum vapor. The two get their powers back, as do Static and Gear, but they fuse together into a two-headed flaming shadow beast. The pair weren't ever given their own supervillain name, so what should we call them? E-Streak? Hotbon? I kinda like Hotbon. And didn't stick around for very long, as they were caught in an explosion on board a ship that sank into the ocean. Did Ebon and Hotstreak survive? One of the final shots of the episode shows a flaming whirlpool in the sea, but it was never confirmed. However, in 2021, DC Comics decided to revive the Milestone brand and launched a new miniseries, Static Season 1. And this series brought over a number of the original Bang Babies made for the show, like Talon and Shiv. Ebon also made his comic book debut on the final page of the last issue, and he was looking for his brother. Now, this series modernized Static and the Bang Babies' origins. Instead of gang violence, the Bang Babies were created when a Black Lives Matter protest was gassed by the authorities. When they realized that their experimental new weapon was creating superpowered people, shadowy agencies started kidnapping the Bang Babies to experiment on them. Rubberband Man was one of the people that had been kidnapped. In the follow-up series, Static Shadows of Dakota, Ebon took a central role. There, Ebon isn't a gang leader. If anything, he works alone and he's not interested in crime or building a reputation for himself. He's a dark vigilante looking for his brother, and he avenges murdered Bang Babies. He's a very obvious parallel to Static, the literal personification of darkness versus Static as the light. Ebon proposes that the two team up, but when Static disapproves of his methods and refuses, Ebon decides that if Static isn't part of the solution, then he's part of the problem. After a brief conflict, Static persuades Ebon to be more compassionate, to avoid killing, and they both work to free Rubberband Man. This doesn't mean that Ebon has gone soft. He has no problems with trouncing agents, but he doesn't go too far. By cooperating with Static, Ebon is reunited with his brother, and Ebon vows to help Rubberband Man rebuild his life. Once their rescue mission is complete, Ebon thanks Static, but makes it clear that they aren't friends. He says he will step away and let Static do his thing, but he will return if he's needed, and he won't hesitate to bloody his hands if needs be. There's an awful lot more to this version of the character, even if his characterization is a bit on the nose. And it is kind of funny that those 7 comic books did more for his character than 4 seasons of Static Shock did. At the same time, I think I prefer his cartoon original. In the cartoon, Ebon wasn't complicated, and I felt that was part of the point. He was a clear, confident embodiment of evil. Selfish, manipulative, and hungry for control. But when he was reimagined in the comics as a brooding vigilante, it's a richer characterization, sure, but it also reflects a modern trend, this need to redeem or reinterpret villains as misunderstood heroes. There's value in this approach, but something gets lost too, I think. Not every villain needs to be noble to be interesting. Sometimes the purity of their evil says more about the world around them than a rewritten backstory ever could. Making him a misunderstood anti-hero gives him emotional shading, certainly, but it also risks sanding off the sharp edges that made him the standout villain of the show in the first place. There's a certain power in letting villains be villains. Ebon chose to rule through fear. He chose to pull people into his darkness. That's what made him frightening, especially for a show that spoke to kids learning about right and wrong in clear terms. If you rewrite that as moral confusion, I think that something gets lost. At the end of the day, Ebon's evil wasn't misunderstood. It was a deliberate choice on his part. He could have taken those powers and done something worthwhile with them, as Static did, but instead he indulged his petty fantasies. He tried to exert his will over others. Without his powers, he felt like he was a nobody, but the harsh reality is that his powers didn't make him significant. He was still the same small-time hood, just with spooky powers. Ebon didn't need a redemption arc. He already played his part. The bad influence, the shadow on the wall, the guy you weren't supposed to follow, and I think that was enough. Not every villain needs saving. Some just need to stay in the dark. Okay, that's it for this week's essay. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. You know how YouTube works. If you really enjoyed the video and have the means, please consider making use of the thanks button to send a buck or two my way, because every little helps. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month. This will get you early access to my weekly video essay, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, custom emojis, and an icon on your profile indicating that you're one of my people. And special thanks to my channel members. Everyone who was a member at the time of this video's creation is listed on the screen right now. If you want to see your name
amongst all these wonderful people, join the channel now.
Next time. When I return on Monday, I will conclude my look at the characters of Justice League Gods and Monsters. I'll be talking about their version of the Caped Crusader, Kirk Langstrom, the Batman. And next Friday, I'll be returning to the world of Superman the Animated Series to talk about the creepy alien parasite Unity. Hope to see you then.